How goes the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. We're definitely starting late tonight. It's going to be a quick little discussion. It's subject matter that's been, on my mind for a minute now. And obviously, before we get started, I gotta get the music going and all that good stuff. So give me 1 second as I share my screen. But hopefully, you guys are having a great night. The weekend's almost here. I'm looking forward to it. Lots to do, lots going on. I'm definitely enjoying my stock market course with the Black Business School with Dr. Royce Watkins. So definitely check it out if whenever you guys get a chance, because it's definitely a great course learning about stocks and cryptocurrency and things of that nature. But hey, let's get it going. We're talking about civil rights. I think needs to be the new norm, especially within the African American community. Because I see civil rights happening all over the country, and I have nothing but love and respect for everyone that are making money power moves. People buying hotels, buying different franchises from McDonald's to Burger Kings to gas stations, the pizza joints. I mean, the list goes on and on. Even franchises for different like a Jiffy Lube, a car shop. I mean, like I said, the list goes on and on. Hardware stores, people making power moves, families making power moves. And I think if people in the African American community would focus on that, because I see people getting back to family values more since the pandemic happened. And I think we need to see more of that happen on a regular basis. Let that be the normal conversation outside of sports and entertainment and things of that nature and video games. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But, we need to get back to those, as I like to call them, my grandparents and great-grandparents' business family values. Okay? So we're going to get to that and go from there. All right? All right. Let's get the show started. All righty. Because life is good, and I want to stay positive no matter what the situation is. I like to speak positive things into existence no matter what, and we definitely going to go from there. All right, so let's get the round of applause going. All right. All right. Just like Kevin Hart would say. All right. But anyways, so in the African American community, I've seen a lot of there's a lot of discussions that go on a regular basis. A lot of times, usually from a political standpoint, from a sports standpoint, from a bragging standpoint, and everybody's people are people at the end of the day. People are human. Everybody's guilty of wanting to look better than somebody else, whether it becomes down to their house, their clothes, their cars, you know what I mean? Even to their children, it's like, it's a constant competition. There's nothing wrong with competition because, competition drives innovation, you know what I mean? People to be innovative in so many different, factors and whatnot. But a great example, I wear my Nipsey Hussle hat, the Marathon Continues hat, because I saw a person who, unfortunately, before he got killed last year, I saw a person who not only was making money moves and power moves and whatnot, as a rapper and whatnot, and even an actor, but he had started his own smart store, buying real estate, creating schools and whatnot. And there was a multitude of partnerships going on. It's like I always say, I wonder what life would be like if you saw a person like a Nipsey Hussle, a Tyler Perry, a Damon Dash, a Byron Allen, just people like that sitting down and having a conversation, Bob Johnson, real power moves, people who have done things and people who want to continuously do things, to contribute to the economic prosperity for themselves and of their families and whatnot. Now, with the title, before anybody wants to get offended, because I know it doesn't take much for people to get offended nowadays, I'm not, and I would never disrespect the civil rights generation of, the Rosa Parks, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, never ever, nothing but love and respect for those specific generations. Okay. And that, that was a long time ago, and you still have a lot of things that happen to this day that involve a lot of civil rights and whatnot. So I get it, and I totally respect it. But it's more so nowadays. It's about civil rights. Okay, silver, not civil, because when you have there's a lot of power in not only owning a home, but being able to become a job creator and whatnot. And I've seen that tremendously, especially growing up in the DMV area where the last two generations, I'd say the last 20 years, I've seen a multitude of families open up churches, open up businesses, buy real estate. And there was no excuse of it's too expensive to live here, the income state tax, all this other crap that I always hear about why people say they can't do certain things in a specific area. I've seen people put their money together, especially people that come from very poor countries, put their money together and succeed and thrive, and have hard times, but they were able to live like others won't, so they could have others won't. It's really simple on that level. Okay. So the next time you want to look down on your landscaper, your construction worker, your janitor, your waiter or waitress and whatnot, a lot of times him or her are actually making power moves, and making power moves, not only from an educational standpoint, but from an economic standpoint, because it's like, I have a lot of admiration for people that can put 10 to 15 paychecks together every month and whatnot and make some things happen. And like I said, I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen blocks I'm going to talk about Northern Virginia. I've seen blocks getting bought up by people because families put their money together. I've seen people not take money from those houses and open up a specific business or two businesses and whatnot, because that's the real power of real estate. Not when you can just buy a house or buy a rental property, but when you can buy a house, take equity out of that specific house and put it into a specific business. That is some real power. And that's civil rights right there. Okay. And I would love to see more of people within the African-American community, just like people in other communities, practice civil rights. Okay. Because civil rights is, I understand, it's nothing but love and respect. A lot of people, we all demand justice when it comes to injustices when they take place. Could not agree with that more. Okay. Could not agree with that more. But I will say with all sincerity that at the end of the day, if there's not more discussions, and not even just discussions, but implementations, because the biggest problem that we have with social media, we talk. Lord knows I talk a lot. Okay. But when there's no implementation going on, then a lot of times it's just a waste of time. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems with social media. It's open an outlet to where people, it's a great thing where, I've been able to have the pleasure to connecting with a lot of people. Speaking of which, how you doing, Hoya? Thanks for the love. I greatly appreciate it. I've had the pleasure of connecting with a lot of people via social media and whatnot, and even make some actual power moves and whatnot with people on social media. But I've noticed a trend with a lot of people on social media where it's like 95% of the time, it's just putting out a bunch of minutia that doesn't mean anything, and it's not really going anywhere. I love to see those posts when I see people that, they've got their degree, they got a certification, they started a new job, they got a promotion, they started a business. I love to see those posts and whatnot. And then I even love to see this. That's why I always share when I see the substance of, like, great example of a colleague of mine who's a real estate agent, Talithia Morris, she's just sold another house today, and I share that because I love to see that kind of positive energy put out there in the air, into the atmosphere. You don't get to see that too often and whatnot, especially living in a time frame where people focus a lot, and I mean a lot, on negativity. But back to the story at hand. We live in a time frame where I see more people opening up businesses. We live in a time frame where I see more people even contributing to HBCUs, historically Black colleges and whatnot. I think that is great. I think, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, she contributed some money, 2 Chainz, Deion Sanders. You have this new movement of people putting their money where their mouth is. And I commend that, because people will probably be like, well, what's your part? Well, hey, I go on We Buy Black, which is African-American version of Amazon. I have a bank account with the Black bank known as One United or whatnot, and I have my own business. or businesses. So that's a way. That's another great way to contribute and whatnot to civil rights. Okay, silver rights, not civil. Okay, and we need to see more and more of that. Okay, and when I it's like we had Thanksgiving, Christmas is around the corner. I want to see more and more of us contribute to those kind of conversations, not even just on social media, but off social media. And then let that be around Christmas dinner. Let that be the butt of the conversation instead of who's going to win the Super Bowl or who's going to the Super Bowl. You know, let that be the butt of the conversation instead about who the president is and whatnot. You know, there's nothing wrong with being engaged in politics and in sports. I'm not talking down about it. You know, all I'm saying is if the conversation shifts a little bit more so to some economic rights to where, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put our money together and whatnot. You know, you're a couple $100, you're a couple $1,000. We mesh it up together. We could really do some things and whatnot. And I commend anybody who's doing that, you know, because the Lone Ranger, too much of a Lone Ranger mindset is you can't have actual silver rights if you don't have, you know, if you don't have some sort of cohesion and whatnot, network, things of that nature. Because I'll be honest with you, you know, that's one of my downfalls, not having a big enough network and whatnot. And I work on that every day, you know, to try to engage with more people. Whether it works or not is another story. But I mean, well, some people it works, some people it doesn't work. You know, I could be totally honest and totally transparent about this. But I will say at the end of the day that you will see whenever something tragic happens, you will see a multitude of protests. When things are good, everybody goes on about their days with their individualistic mentality and mindset, and you know, they leave it at that. So I would like to see more people get together when things are good, not only just when things are bad, you know, because you know, when the George Floyd thing happened, you saw people come together, you know. When a lot of these other things have happened, you saw people come together and whatnot, and people working together. And I love that. I want to see more of that. Okay. However, I don't see a lot of people trying the darndest to go out there and to be totally engaged and whatnot with one another, especially on social media. I would love to see more and more of that. And when this whole pandemic is over, because you know the vaccine is out, and whether you're going to take it or not, it's up to you. I'm hoping by the summertime of 2021, the world is somewhat back to normalcy to where, like, yeah, we might be wearing our mask and all that good stuff, which is nothing wrong with that. However, I would like to see more events take place, possibly, you know, people be able to travel a little bit more, you know, things of that nature. You know, I mean, heck, I had to cancel my trip because everything was shut down basically for the most part now. And it's probably worked out for the best, to be perfectly honest with you. But I would like to see more and more of that. I would like to see some more engagement on that level to where, because Zoom lives and StreamYard lives, that's great and all, but you know, people need to, in order to, especially, you're not really going to do too much business with people that you've never physically, I mean, most people are not, that you've never physically had when it comes to like one-on-one business and things of that nature. You know, I can say that with sincerity. Most people aren't. I wouldn't. I mean, it's like if you have like a, you know, if you have a you know, online, you know, sales and things of that, because I've had a lot of customers, you know, go to my website and purchase items and they've never met me before, you know, but I'm just talking about like real hardcore partnerships, real deal Holyfields, as my mom would say, you know, purchasing a lot of land or purchasing a commercial building or purchasing a property together and whatnot. You're not going to see much of that if you're there's not actual face-to-face contact on a regular basis. Let me put it like that. Okay. If it's not face-to-face contact. So I leave it at that. But at the end of the day, you know, if the new movement is civil rights. Okay. And I have a lot of respect, and I implore everybody that's actually involved in civil rights, whether people are doing it in the United States, whether people are doing it in Europe, whether people are doing it in the Caribbean, whether they're doing it in Central South America, whether they're doing it in Africa. You know, it's like there's because you have a lot of people that have their plans to do specific things on the continent of Africa, and I commend them, all at the same time. So that's the world we're living in right now, and that's where we need to continuously reside and continuously move forward in, because that's the world that's going to uplift everyone, and I mean everyone, because at the end of the day, for the people that don't want to have civil rights in their family, they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble. And the reason why I said that they're in big trouble is because we've seen the job market change. It's not nothing special. I mean, we know what the job market has been changing for a long time. The pandemic actually made it go into somewhat hyperdrive and whatnot. And obviously we expect it to happen tenfold, within the next 3 to 5 years. 2025, I think, is really going to tell all about where society is and where it's going and whatnot from a job standpoint. A lot of jobs are not going to be available, and the ones that are only going to be available in key pocket areas of the country. My prediction, I'm no economist, but I think the parts of the country that's going to have the most best paying jobs with a reasonable cost of living will most likely be in Georgia, Texas, and the DMV area. I think everywhere else in the country, and you have, other pockets like Colorado and places like that. But as far as affordability and whatnot, I think I'm going to call those specific areas. All these other places like California and New York will always have a good multitude of jobs. But the problem is, will people want to live there? Because now we're seeing a lot of people don't want to live in these specific areas anymore. They're tired of it. They despise the traffic. They despise the cost of living. They despise the traffic. I mean, the list goes on and on. I can be perfectly honest with you guys on that one. Okay. So if you're not a part of the solution, in a sense, you're going to be part of the problem, whether you want to admit it or not, and when I say the solution is ownership, whether it's you owning real estate or whether it's you owning, and when I say owning real estate, it means you're able to pass that real estate down. Owning some sort of a business, or even having equity in a specific business. Okay. Banking with the community banks and whatnot. Sending the kids to the HBCU colleges to check them out and whatnot. These are the things that matter. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, one. And two, they want to keep, we can respect the past. We can acknowledge the past. But if we don't truly look at the current and the future and whatnot, then we'll always be living in the past. And that is my biggest pet peeve. Is like, if you're always talking about the past and whatnot, generations have passed by. So if the issue, when it falls around your community of people, only falls around era of the civil rights movement, when we're dealing with all this technology and more of a global economy and whatnot, and we're trying to talk about ownership and whatnot and some sort of personal responsibility, and you really can't even engage in any political process if you don't have an economic backbone. That's just what it is. Love it or hate it, that's how the world works. Okay, so that's just my mindset right now. And I want to see more and more, because I only engage with people that want to talk about civil rights anyways, to be honest with you. If people are not talking about engagement on any level, if people aren't talking about moving forward, partnerships on any level, then I really don't want to engage into the discussion, to be honest with you. I'm just going to keep it real on that note. All right. So we need to continuously move forward in that when it comes to civil rights. And I would like to hear more and more the business community, which I'm starting to see more of, get involved in certain matters, because it's the cornerstone and the backbone of how any community can move forward. Because I've seen it with my own two eyes. And people buy from each other, when they sell with each other, when they live with each other, when they have a real community with each other, and they're not just seeing each other on Sundays, and they're not just seeing each other when it comes to bragging off and showing off and all that other nonsense. Then and only then, in my personal opinion, can you really have a moment where you can have a moment when you're truly able to grow, and the next generation and the next generation can continue to grow and be able to make moves like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so that's how I look at that. Okay, And that's what I hope to see in the future. You know, and I hope to see more ownership, so that when the whole thing of gentrification comes knocking on people's door, you know, people can say, well, I own this property. This has been my family for generations. We're going to keep it or we're going to sell it. You know, oh, I own this business. If I want to sell it, then I'm going to make something out of it. And then we're going to continuously make that money flow and not just keep it for ourselves so we can live in an overpriced neighborhood and thinking that we're something special. Okay. Because with that mindset, generations are going to suffer, in my personal opinion. You know, I'm not an economist, but I see this with my own two eyes. With the plethora of jobs not really being available within the next 20, 30 years, if there's just a community of people that is totally dependent on getting a job and not creating a job for themselves and for others and whatnot, then I see not such a great and bright future, just in my personal opinion, you know. And I'm gonna leave it on that note, because at the end of the day, before I end tonight's video off, like I said, I'm not going to be on too long tonight. I'm going to look this article up because I want to make sure I quote it right. Yes. And look this up yourself. Do your own research. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but I've seen it on a multitude of levels. It states, and I quote, median wealth of African Americans will fall to zero by 2053. Zero. Okay. And the only reason why that is possible is if people only have a good paying job, they're not passing down real estate, they don't have access to additional capital, and they're not talking about buying things that grow in assets, not even just from the stock market, from cryptocurrencies to the bonds, but when I'm not having life insurance, that's very important as well. Okay, if your family is not big on get the cheapest life insurance possible you can get, but get life insurance. Okay, I'm not a financial professional, but hey, we're all going to pass away eventually, and you don't want to have these GoFundMe platforms going on when you pass away, or family members going into debt because people did not take the necessary precautions to ensure that there was some sort of life insurance. So when the funeral happens, you know, that things can be taken care of, and possibly even after that, you can have a little extra money so that the family financial economic campaign can continue on for generation to generation. Because if everybody in every family continuously starts at zero, if you have to continuously start over every generation, we all know that's a recipe for disaster. Okay, so look at that article. Okay, 2053, median Black wealth will be at zero if we do not change the ways in regards to the way we make money moves. And that's why I say hashtag make money moves or live broke like a fool. That's why hashtag I don't do drama, I do business, because I don't have time for that nonsense anymore. And I don't think any reasonable adult does either. So on that note, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, my little rant, as I like to call it. I just had to get this off my chest because I think that's the new way forward. Is talking about the economic aspects of things, the ownership aspect of things, the partnership aspects of things, and we go from there. All right. So have a great night. Continuously make money moves. I might go live again tomorrow night. Might even put the link out there for some other people so they possibly can join. But hey, life is good. I'm alive and well. You know, just be happy to be alive at this point. But remember that 2053. So if you're a parent that has kids, think about their kids, because it's going to be very hard if there's not a economic culture within your family. It's like, hey, my last name is Patterson. I want the Pattersons to have the economic journey of a lifetime as well, to where things can get passed down. So when somebody leaves high school, leaves college, or leaves the military, they're not starting at ground zero, because then they have to put more time and effort into building their resources. All right. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.